Hello everyone, welcome again to the channel. Today I want to share with you some recent news. So the first one is about Taiwan. Recently, some Republicans have pushed to create some legislation to create this Lend-Lease military aid program for Taiwan. So the main topic is they basically want what could be considered a blank check as far as Taiwan goes, so Taiwan can get as many weapons as they want without having to pay for them immediately. And this was introduced by Michelle Steele, which is Republican, and the main details of the bill is that it's supposed to allow the United States to provide unlimited amounts of weapons or military equipments to Taiwan, and the country can pay or after a 12-year time frame. That's the main thing. And this was introduced co-sponsored by this senator, Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn. And interestingly enough, she says Taiwan is our greatest partner in the Indo-Pacific region, and their continued sovereignty is essential to challenging the new axis of evil. Taiwan should know that the United States will support them with defense supplies, including weapons and machinery, regardless of what the Chinese Communist Party says. So that is what they were saying, but the article, remember, this article comes from Fox News, so it's completely Western focused news outlet, and they are saying that this comes as the communist regime in Beijing has upped its harassment of neighboring Taiwan. If you have listened to previous episodes, you will know that this is absolutely not the case. China is not harassing Taiwan, but they continue to say it like if it was really the case. They say China has increasingly launched military exercises close to Taiwan's coast, while warplanes from Beijing have violated the country's air defense space. One such military exercise took place in April, while a bipartisan group of U.S. officials was visiting Taiwan on an official trip. So they are saying the story actually backwards, because of the visit of the US officials is that China was doing these exercises. So these exercises were done as some kind of protest against the visit of these diplomats to Taiwan, because it is a de facto recognition of Taiwan, which clearly violates the One China policy, which the United States is supposed to adhere to. And so this so-called harassment of Taiwan is not so. The United States conducts regularly these freedom of navigation operations with naval vessels and with airplanes, infringing on what China considers territorial waters and airspace, and does it continuously, consistently, and is actually escalating. So according to this lady Steele, the Republican, she says, I'm proud to lead this bipartisan bill in Congress to show that the CCP, that we will not back down from supporting our allies. So this is very provocative, because basically what they're saying is that Taiwan is a US ally, and this is of course more provocations. They say Taiwan's official representative to the US told Fox News Digital that it welcomed any help in its fight for freedom. So again, more provocative talk. They are provoking a reaction from China. Earlier this year, Congress voted in a bipartisan manner, to resurrect the Lend-Lease program to aid Ukraine as it battles an invasion by Russia. Lawmakers hope the same feat will be accomplished to aid Taiwan in its hour of need. There is no hour of need for Taiwan. Taiwan doesn't need this, so they are creating this artificial situation the way they created this situation for Ukraine, and they are bragging about it. They're bragging that they have the Lend-Lease program for Ukraine as if it was something good, giving a blank check to a very corrupt country in a conflict that is basically losing. And they continue to say, in recent weeks, tensions have grown between China and the US over the communist regime's treatment of Taiwan. Like I repeat again, Taiwan is not doing anything but provoking China's reaction with all these visits from US diplomats, and China has been very restrained in its actions, actually. And they say this situation only escalated when China warned House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, which is a Democrat, against visiting Taiwan this summer. So you see, this is more provocations from the United States giving de facto recognition to Taiwan. This is seen as a provocation because there's a history of this happening before. It's not the first time. And recently, China actually started to conduct live-fire military exercises in the South China Sea. And this is, again, a reaction, is a way to protest for this trip, but they don't seem intent in backing down. So let's see some more information. I will refer to this article not in its entirety because it's highly detailed. This comes from Sputnik, and it says, what is the big deal about Pelosi or any other politician going to Taiwan? And it gives a background information of what is the meaning of Taiwan for China, what is the history, what happened when everything started, and especially relevant is the importance of US relations with the island, and the latest trip of someone that was the House Speaker, that was in 1997. So we will move forward to that part so that we can see exactly what happened. That was Newt Gingrich. He was in 1997. That's when he was visiting, and China complained about the visit, and in response to this, the U.S. dispatched 2 carrier battle groups and an amphibious assault ship, numerous U.S. warships that sailed through the Taiwan Strait, flouting Chinese warnings against it. So the main thing is that the situation was embarrassing for Beijing, since it was forced to back down, and the crisis gave Li, which was the leader of Taiwan, a boost in the polls and a political victory by winning a narrow majority in Taiwan's first democratic elections in 1996. However, it also led to the Chinese People Liberation Army to acquire and design a host of new weapons and warships that will be capable of taking on the advanced US fleet, including long-range anti-ship missiles, designed to keep US aircraft carriers far from Chinese shores. So this is the deal, that they have humiliated China, and they think they can continue to do it. So this is a matter of pride for China, They don't want to be told what to do. They don't want to be told what they can do or what they should do. And they continue to do this, trying to prop the independent sentiment in Taiwan. So this is going to cause a problem. So that's why the Chinese military has been investing so much in improving their military capabilities because they want to stand up for themselves. They don't want to be seen as weak as they were back in 1996, but that is already a long time ago. So that's 26 years ago, actually. So they had a lot of time to invest, and now they are capable of actually fighting and probably defeating the US naval fleet in the Pacific. But why is this even being attempted? It's just nonsensical. There is a report that apparently there is an military airplane that they suspect of carrying Pelosi. So apparently Pelosi is already on her way to Taiwan and other countries that she's planning to visit, and she was supposedly flying in this aircraft, and some people were tracking it with this series, but it's called Flight Radar. And the flight that they were tracking was this SPAR 19, and they say that as many as 79,000 users were tracking it, and suddenly they stopped tracking it on this website. So apparently this makes it even more suspicious because they stopped tracking it. So this is usually public information. So yeah, they continue. They didn't back down. You can read all this if you want to. But the main thing is that it seems like that she's already on her way to Taiwan. Okay, so this is some of the relevant information. I just wanted to highlight this tweet from this lady, Marsha Blackburn, which is one of the diplomats, legislators that is pushing for this land list for Taiwan. She says, as the new axis of evil, Iran, Russia, China, and North Korea presents an ever-growing threat. The United States and our allies sent a clear message last night. We will always fight to protect innocent civilians and defend the free world. Well, that is of course a lie, because we have seen what the US allies and the United States are doing. They are not doing anything that is similar to protect innocent civilians and defend the free world. They are only defending the interests of their own countries, not the free world. The free world is more than the Western powers, But we already know what they consider the new axis of evil: Iran, Russia, China, and North Korea. So that's it. I have the worst feelings about this whole story. I think there are several scenarios which will happen if this lady continues to try to fly there. First, probably China will try to impede the flight from going there. So it will try to maybe intercept with military aircraft the flight before going. But knowing the behavior of the United States, they will continue regardless of the intercept. And since the United States already sent battle groups to the area, it is expected that if an intercept comes, then also the United States from the US aircraft carrier will send also fighter jets to intercept the interceptors from China. So this has high likelihood of escalation. Yes, any miscalculation can suddenly trigger a military incident. And we really don't know what are going to be the rules of engagement for the military pilots, both from the US and from China. Yes, one single shot can create a whole lot of problems and basically start a very nasty military incident that could easily escalate into full-scale war. And all of this just for nothing, just to create some kind of statement to put China down, to say we're strong, you're weak. That's what it's all about. Unfortunately, China is no longer the same country it was 26 years ago when they did this. So I don't know why they are risking it, but if you understand how Lend-Lease program works, it's basically like a blank check for the military-industrial complex. So this is all about business. That's why they implemented this Lend-Lease program for Ukraine, because it's a boon for the military-industrial complex. It's a big business for all weapons manufacturers. So these they see it as a business only, and even if the US military intervenes, it will still be business because it will be a war that won't be fought on American soil, but certainly will involve American soldiers. So this will be completely negative for the region, probably for the entire world. Let's not forget that China has nuclear weapons as well, so this can quickly escalate into a larger conflict. So I have the worst feelings about this entire situation. The other option, the other scenario is that China will just continue some military exercises to protest, and it is speculated that Taiwan could issue an independence statement. If this happens during the visit of Pelosi, it is expected that the Chinese military will invade the Taiwan island. So this will be probably the same conflict, but it is expected that the United States will not intervene directly in the conflict, will provide assistance to Taiwan in the form of weapons, similar to what they are doing with Ukraine right now, but they will not involve themselves directly in the conflict. So there are two possible scenarios. It all depends on what will be China's reaction. So I don't really know. That none of the scenarios are positive, and this continues to raise tensions in a place where there shouldn't be any. Okay, so going to another topic. I recently saw this news and I thought it was a little bit funny in a ridiculous way. So remember all these disruptions in supply chains. Well, apparently even candy will be in short supply during the holiday season, which is starting in October, and it is kind of a sign of how things are going. They say they are going to have problems with supplies of cocoa, and maybe problems in the supply with sugar. So that is the problem, mainly cocoa, but they mention essential ingredients like cocoa, so maybe some other ingredients as well. And they blame it on global supply chain issues due to the pandemic and the war in Ukraine. So I don't know what to say about that, but it's certainly a disruption in yet another supply chain. Even something as trivial as candy, we continue to see these kind of problems. So not a good sign, but it's probably a sign of something else. We will see how things develop. Going to another news, this is coming from the Spiegel. This is a German news source, and they're saying that they have some reports of German extremists that they wanted to travel to Ukraine. Some of them were detained, and they even they took away their passports because they wanted to go and take some training or fight for Ukraine. But the main thing is that they want to fight there with the right wing, no, with the Azov and all these groups. So these guys were right-wing extremists. So we can only assume that they had some inclinations for Nazi ideologies, like the kind of ideologies that are espoused by all these right-wing military groups that are part of the Ukrainian military, such as the Azov and Kraken and other groups. So it is a sign of the times, you know. Like I was saying before, the Nazi ideology never really left the scene, the European scene, and we can see it in Germany. You know, is coming to the surface, so it never really left. That's what they're seeing. You know, they wanted to fight for Ukraine, so because they feel some affinity with Ukraine, they feel some ideological affinity with the right-wing extremists that is part of the Ukrainian military. This comes from the Netherlands. They are complaining about human rights violation. They say that the officials of the government are creating some discrimination for asylum seekers. So they are giving preference to Ukrainians over other nationalities. This is violation of human rights and violation of the legislation in the Netherlands. So they are trying to provide some preferential treatment so that they automatically receive special temporary residency status, and they want the government to force municipality to take Ukrainians. And this is, of course, I already reported this in a previous episode, but they say that there shouldn't be some kind of discrimination. They say a distinction could be made if Ukrainians were in a more disadvantageous position than other asylum seekers, but that is not the case. If the cabinet offers municipalities room to take in only Ukrainians, the cabinet is legitimizing discrimination, and the Netherlands, this was what the Netherlands Institute for Human Rights. So it is more of the same behavior we saw before in the previous episode. And the previous episode I was reporting this with regards to France. So this was happening, this story was in France and Slovakia. So it is all over Europe, this kind of behavior is not so much different between each countries. So let's move on to a different story. If you remember, on Friday there was this attack on a prison that was holding prisoners of war, Ukrainian prisoners of war. This was in the town of Elenovka, also called Olenivka in Ukrainian language. This is the original Russian name, Elenovka or Yelenovka. And Russia is saying that they have definitive information about the responsibility for the attack, and they are going to pass all this information to the United States, proving that Kiev is to blame for the attack. So this is very significant. And they are saying here, today we inform United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres that we have irrefutable evidence of Ukraine's responsibility for the shelling in Yelenovka. The United Nations should not shy away from condemning this crime of the Kiev regime. This came from Dmitry Polyansky. So this is the deputy representative to the United Nations. So we'll see what happens. But like I said, when I reported this incident, even from the logical point of view, it doesn't make sense if Russia was going to shell their own installation with their own people in the prison. I mean, guards and all kinds of personnel that was there. And according to the latest report, the death toll in the place has reached already 53. 53 people died and 130 are wounded. Some people have mentioned that only prisoners died, and this is not the case. It seems like also some guards died, some guards were wounded. So this also strikes down this conspiracy theory that Russia did it. So we'll see. They say they have already evidence of this, so we'll see what comes and what will the United Nations do. They already have been officially invited to inspect the people from the United Nations and the Red Cross, So they say that they will be invited to participate in the investigation. So we'll see if they will be coming to the same conclusions. And I will provide a link to this article that has some videos that are interesting. One video that I want to show you is this video that is showing the pieces of HIMARS missiles that were found in Yelenovka. So this is the video. So I'm not an arms expert, so someone that has this kind of knowledge could probably verify that. Here is the link for the Telegram post, so you can find it there. Additionally, I will provide link to another website. This website has more videos, including some that are probably not very suitable for playing on most video platforms. So let's take a look at this video. This is a similar video to the one we saw. Okay, so I will provide this link so you can take a look. This comes from this website, which usually provides very good reporting. They are independent media. It's called Southfront. And also from South Front we have another news story which is kind of interesting. Apparently, Azerbaijan supplied Ukraine with precision-guided bombs in secret. And why will they do this in secret? Because Azerbaijan officially is a Russian ally, and these precision bombs that they are mentioning here were supposedly developed together with Turkey. So they use Turkish technology to create these bombs, and these bombs are supposed to be used from aircraft, from fighter jets, for example the Su-25, and they have a range of around 12 kilometers, I think, and they are providing here some documentations for their claims. So you can take a look at that. They give some information about the kind of weapons that they speculate was involved in this. So they say it's a semi-active laser-guided bomb. So it has error of about 10 meters. So that's very precise. And this is of course some kind of diplomatic problem for Azerbaijan doing these kind of things. So this will probably not be reported in the mainstream media. So you can go and take a look. I will provide the link to all of those news articles. And lastly, I want to congratulate the Russians. The Russians today is celebrated the Russian Navy Day is July 31st, and this is celebrated on the last Sunday of July. Today is Sunday, July 31st, and the main naval parade will be held in St. Petersburg, and apparently even some navies of other countries are invited. Among them, I think Azerbaijan Navy and Iran Navy, they will participate. They were invited by the Russian. So there will be naval parades in Vladivostok, Seviermosk, Kaspisk, Novorossiysk, and Baltisk. So Novorossiysk is in the Black Sea, and Kaspisk is the Caspian Sea, and Baltic is the Baltic Sea. So probably that will be held in Kaliningrad. That's what I'm speculating. About Seviermosk, I'm not very familiar with that. Vladivostok, of course, is in the Pacific. So congratulations to Russia on the Navy Day. So with that, we will end this episode, and I want to remind you of the opportunity there is to support my work as content creator. In the description of every episode, I include information about different platforms you can use to support my work with donations. If you want, you can also support my work by liking, sharing this episode in social media, and subscribing. I hope to see you again very soon. Thank you for watching this episode.